through pain, and deep in our bones the old songs are waking. So sing them with voices, with thunder and rain. I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair. I will not lower.
Hi guys, welcome back to the 401 Files. It's an absolute pleasure, as I always say, to be joined by so many like-minded people from all around the world. Now, the title of this video is The Terrifying Truth About the UK Bigfoot Phenomena. Throughout this video, I'm going to dive into some reasons why I believe there is a terrifying truth behind the Bigfoot phenomena here in the UK, and also a few other of my thoughts as well. Without further ado, please do kick back, relax, and enjoy. Go. So as you can see, Lily's giving off some really good eye shine. Almost looks demonic. We hear about this a lot in Bigfoot and cryptid sightings. And what's happening right now is above my camera, I have the torch on, and the light is traveling towards Lily's eyes, hitting the glass protector, like the lens part of the eye, and it's dispersing that light right across the lens, giving back this shine, this almost reflective light from her eyeballs, which make them appear like they're glowing. Now obviously they're not glowing. This is just typically known in the cryptid world as eye shine, but a lot of Bigfoot reports, especially from hunters who are out there in the middle of the night with their torches, with their headlamps, report eye shine, but on a much bigger creature. Can you imagine how terrifying that would be? Seeing two of those things glowing in the dark, standing 9 feet tall above the trees, or amongst the trees, sorry. Terrifying. So I've just pulled the chair up really quickly for a chat with you guys and to share some of my thoughts, because, you know, this is something that I really do enjoy doing, is pulling the chair up in the forest and putting my thoughts out there to the world, because this community that I've built up here on YouTube, a lot of you guys are very like-minded. I say this all the time. You're very like-minded. We might not always share the same viewpoints, or we might not always agree on the same theory, but we are open-minded and we are willing to accept and look at the evidence regardless of which direction it takes us. And I love that fact, knowing that when I speak my mind, when I share my thoughts, it's going out to a very varied audience, but all sharing the same common denominator. We're all open-minded, and we all know that there is more to this life than we're led to believe. So with that said, what have I been thinking about? Well, I was driving along the other day and I started thinking about these chance encounters where people are out walking very much in a setting like the one that I'm in now, like a forested area, and they see a craft hovering a few feet off the ground. And within fractions of seconds, this craft, upon being discovered, straight through the canopy and is gone at incredibly fast rate of speeds. And I hear that a lot. I hear those kind of encounters a lot. I hear those details time and time again, and it never made sense. Like, I was thinking about this. You've got to imagine this, right? The craft, let's just assume that the craft, or the people aboard the craft, the crew members, they wasn't expecting to be stumbled upon by some straggler walking through the woods. And so by the time the pilot, whoever is piloting that thing, said, "Everybody, we've been discovered, get in your seats, buckle in, we're setting off," before he even had a chance to say any of that, this thing's gone. It's through the forest canopy and away. Now, if you're not strapped in, if you're not able to separate yourself from the immense pressures being built up within that craft as it sets off at those speeds, you will implode. You will literally, the pressure would crush you into 1,000 million pieces, and it would be very, very violent, a violent death. But we don't see that, which tells me that they're capable of withstanding these high G-forces, these incredible speeds. But if they're biological, like us, if they bleed like us, that is not possible. That is not possible. And so then it started to make me think of something different. Right now, we have Elon Musk dabbling with artificial intelligence, robots that in time will become more and more believable, more and more realistic, more and more capable of doing the tasks that humans can do. And so wouldn't it make more sense that someone piloting that craft in the woods is off somewhere else in the galaxy or in low Earth orbit somewhere on a mothership, and those things piloting it are taking his commands, and he's the real biological pilot of this craft. They're just the AI robots who are robots. So they don't care about speeds, they don't care about pressures. They can literally do everything that he would be able to do if he was boots on the ground. That would make far more sense, right? Like if I said to you, I've got this incredible craft and you can go venture off into the universe to explore these different places, or you can take away all the risk, every chance of dying a horrible death, and you can use something that's almost more than capable than you are of going off and exploring. Would you choose that one, right? I think everybody would. Everybody would choose to put their own little sidekick, their own little robot, AI robot, onto a craft rather than themselves to explore the. Sorry, I'm talking weird now because I've just seen something move across the forest, and it's kind of took my attention away from what I was saying. Where I'm looking right now, it's really dense in front of me for about 100 meters, and then about 50, 60 meters down this track, which is not a track, it's actually a game trail. Something just stepped from one side to the other into the dense part on my right. And I never really got to see what that was because obviously it's such a narrow path. It didn't take much for it to step across and disappear again into the other side. Weird. But it is getting dark now. As you can see, I've got the light above my phone, so that's the only way I'm getting illuminated now, is by the light. And yeah, it's getting creepy. Hi, Lil. What do you want from me? Do you have to get this close? What's going on, man? What's going on, man? She's saying, I want to go home, I'm hungry. So yeah, anyway, I think I've got most of my points out there with that bit there, guys. You let me know what you think. Is it likely that these extraterrestrial beings that we assume are biological, is it likely that they are just AI robots that are more than capable of doing the tasks of the actual pilot who is somewhere out there in space or on a mothership close by? I think that would make far more sense and alleviate a hell of a lot of those risks for the same reward.
I was around 6 or 7. I have a twin sister who was also with me. And we also had 2 big Labrador dogs. And my dogs were going crazy. Like, you know, the vicious barking like there's a stranger. And what I saw shocked me. We called it a hairy monster, my sister and I. I saw it walk out of the woods about 200 feet away from us. From what I saw, it was a very tall, broad-shouldered thing, and it walked across leisurely. I mean, it was swinging its arms. It turned and looked at us, and I remember very distinctly that it didn't just turn its head; it turned its head, and its upper torso at us. Because my mind immediately jumped to, this thing is coming after us.
One of the things that I hear about a lot, especially regarding people that have maybe never heard of the Bigfoot phenomena here in the UK before, they've never looked into any of the cases before, is people quickly dismissing somebody's encounter or somebody's sighting with it being misidentification. I hear about this a lot. I think it's a really easy way to try and debunk something. Oh, the person just, you know, they misidentified it. It was actually this or it was actually that. That's such an easy way to scrub over something and not pay it any more attention. Now, my thing here in the UK would be, what are they misidentifying it with? Like, what is close to something standing on 2 feet, 8 to 9 feet tall and covered in hair, running through the forest? You could see a person in a ghillie suit, but I don't know any 8 to 9 feet tall snipers. I really don't. That can run in that kind of, you know, attire. There's a reason that snipers usually find a spot and lay up when they're wearing a ghillie suit, and that's because it's not the easiest piece of attire to maneuver in. So yeah, my question to you guys is, what could possibly been confused with that description? Something 8 to 9 feet tall, covered in hair, and walking bipedally. How do you misidentify that? How do you confuse that with some natural phenomena or some natural animal that's out there? Just to add on the end of this really quickly as well, is that I don't want to get this confused, you know, like a lot of the sightings here in the UK aren't 8 to 9 feet tall. Some of them are like, you know, 5 feet tall, but really robust and have that girthy body structure as, say, like the Neanderthal. But they really did look as if they were a wild man living out in the woods. They had the big, strong jawline, the robust shoulders and rib cage, completely like covered in hair, human hair, but really, really overgrown. And those sightings happen a lot as well, and that has become known as the UK wildman. So this thing that people are seeing here varies a lot, but it still doesn't make sense, and it still doesn't really match up with anything that we know living here off-grid or in nature.
I felt the hair go up on the back of my neck, and I felt like something was watching me. And I turned around, and I saw this silhouette up against the trees, and I drew my knife, and I just about peed my pants, man. I mean, and when I did, it crouched, and I thought, that's not good. And I don't know how I had the presence of mind to do it, but I made a show of putting the knife back in its scabbard, back in the sheath, and opening my hands to show that I had nothing in my hands. And I kind of bowed down a little bit, you know, like in maybe a submissive type move to let it know that I wasn't a threat. And then it faded back into the trees. I didn't hear a thing.
So I've been walking for quite a while now. Done almost 10,000 steps today, which is crazy. But it's where I love to be. I say this all the time, but it really is out here exploring, investigating, and talking about these weird, thought-provoking topics. It's where I love to be. It's who I am, and it's what I do. It's what I enjoy doing. A lot of people over the years have asked me the same question, and I'm sure there's people here now that wonder the same thing, is why? Why do you bother getting out? Do you actually think that you're going to miraculously find something? And the answer is no, I don't. I never think that this investigation's the one. This time that I'm out, I'm going to find something or see something, because the reality is you can get out 365 days a year, and you might only see something for 15 seconds. Or you might have a full-blown experience. There's no telling which way this phenomenon works or which way it goes, how intense the experience will be. All you can do is increase your chances of an experience by being out here in the places where they do take place.
The thing is, I'll tell you the same as what I tell people on my channel. I'll tell you the same as what I'll tell people I meet on a day-to-day basis in everyday life, is that there is certainly a phenomena at play. Now, it could be multiple phenomena, but I believe truly that they are not oblivious to each other. Whatever it is, wherever they're coming from, and whatever their intentions are, these things somehow know of each other.
Do you know what the terrifying bit is for me? And this doesn't just relate to Bigfoot, this relates to all cryptids and all extraterrestrial beings, is that they're here now, and I know that. Once you've had an experience with something that you know without any question, there's going to be no one who can make me think otherwise. And that's not me being stubborn, that's not me being naive or ignorant. It's just that I know what I saw. I know what I saw doesn't exist in scientific textbooks. It doesn't belong in the library somewhere. There is nowhere that you can go read up about what I saw. It was from somewhere else. And I know that, and I'm sure that many people who've had Bigfoot sightings or experiences with the paranormal will say the same. It was otherworldly. You don't need somebody to try and be all scientific and explain what it may or may not have been. I know that what I saw shouldn't be here. It doesn't fit the bill of anything we've been brought up and made to believe. And if it does belong here, let's just say that Earth is the home planet of these Terrans, these beings, and we're the outsiders, then our whole life, our whole history, upbringing, education has been a lie. Because I've never seen anything like it since. And those of you that have had Bigfoot sightings, those of you that have experienced or believe even that Bigfoot exists, you will know there is a possibility. Even if you don't choose that as your preferred explanation, maybe you are of the belief that they are more flesh and blood or an undiscovered creature of some kind. Even if you believe that, you know there is always the possibility that that thing could be from somewhere else. Because once an extraterrestrial exists at all, outside of humans, off this planet, you can guarantee hundreds, if not thousands or millions of times over and over and over, that will have happened again. And some of those will undoubtedly have found their way here. And I'm here to say that that's already happened. So just to add a bit more onto what I was talking about with this Bigfoot extraterrestrial hypothesis is we as humans, we need water to survive. And without it, we die. It's that simple. And for whatever reason, if water started to diminish, dry up, just vanish, and we had the means to jump into spaceships, we would do that to head to the stars in search of planets that have water. Because without it, we die as a species. It makes sense. And my thinking is that extraterrestrials will come in all different shapes and sizes. There is no two ways about it. If extraterrestrials exist, there isn't just one species. There isn't just one agenda. There will be big, small, hairy, hairless, broad, skinny, white, black, green, yellow, you name it. There will be the whole range of possibilities biologically. Because if it's happened once, it will happen again and again and again and again. And that's why we're trying to find life in the solar system. Even bacterial, because even if we find bacterial life, that is still life. And if it's happened once, it will happen again and again and again, and who knows to what extent. Now, my thinking is this. Let's just say that Bigfoot creatures, these extraterrestrial beings that look animalistic, they're covered in hair, they're 8 to 9 feet tall, very broad, robust looking things. Their planet, where they lived, was very much like this. Rich and heavily forested. All of a sudden, the oxygen levels that allowed them one time to grow so big and be so strong have depleted. Because of the low oxygen levels now, the trees are dying, and their environment that they needed to sustain their species has gone. Do you think that they would, if they could, venture out into the stars and look for another planet that is heavily forested, has decent oxygen levels, capable of maintaining life? Absolutely. 100% they would. And they might not even need to jump into a spaceship. So before people start thinking, I can't visualize a Bigfoot pressing dials and pulling switches in a spaceship, they might not need to. All travel doesn't revolve around hopping into a UFO. There are wormholes, there are time slips, there are different dimension leaps that we can do. Well, we can't do, but we know can happen and other people potentially could do for them to arrive here. And we hear the stories about that. We hear stories about people following tracks and even, in some cases, coming face to face with a Bigfoot that then vanishes. Without explanation, without trace. It makes sense. It makes sense. So just to go down the rabbit hole a bit further and blow your minds completely, when I was talking about how these extraterrestrial Bigfoot type creatures could be getting here, I was talking about wormholes, rips in space-time, dimension leaps, teleportation. All these things sound very scientific or sci-fi, unrealistic, unbelievable. But hear me out on this one, right? This three-dimensional world that we're living in isn't as it should be. Even our own brains on our own planet within our own bodies is lying to us. Our eyes only ever see two-dimensionally. Behind the pupil is a receiving plate that sees and receives information in 2D. So Ben, how come the world that we see is 3D? Well, because once that information comes in and hits this receiving plate that sees in 2 dimensions, the brain then transports that information to make our world 3 dimensions. And that's what allows us to see things that are close, and we can tell the difference from when something is off in the distance. A baby, an infant that hasn't learnt this way yet, will try to grab the moon. You'll see an infant, he'll try and reach out and he'll try and grab the moon. He'll try and grab something that's miles away because his brain hasn't been taught yet. It hasn't been trained to receive and change this information that's coming in through his eyes. But we see in 2 dimensions, although we live in a 3-dimensional world. Or do we? Is the brain lying to us? Now, because I believe that Bigfoot or Sasquatch could be an extraterrestrial rather than an undiscovered creature, does that mean that I don't believe or I'm not willing to accept that he might be an undiscovered cryptid of some nature? Absolutely not. I'm more than open to that idea, and it still does hold weight in its own right.
The UFO phenomena, along with the legend of Bigfoot here in the UK, is a very sensitive subject. If we're thinking logically about such creatures living here undiscovered, then it doesn't make much sense. But if we entertain the idea that not everyone here can be lying, then we're also forced to face other serious questions. Questions about our own reality, but also questions about what reality is the real world truth. These encounters will bring most, if not all, of our core beliefs into question, and at times we may even start to question our own sanity. But once you delve into this mysterious world of the unknown, it's a rabbit hole that is not only addictive, but almost impossible to climb back out of.
I've got loads of webs in my face as I've been walking through the trees. So as I've already mentioned, the title of this video is The Terrifying Truth About the UK Bigfoot Phenomena. And there is a terrifying truth. Whether you like to admit it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, and whether your emotions will allow you to even accept it or not, is irrelevant. One thing we can't escape or overlook is the abundance of stories that come from present-day man and woman, but also our ancestors, Vikings, the Romans, the Tudors, you name it, all walks of life that have settled here on this island, have experienced and documented strange upright walking cryptids, often seen in places like this. Now, I know there's isolated events where people do see these creatures next to lakes and rivers, streams, but the majority of sightings happen in densely wooded areas like this. Is there a reason for that? Where does the terrifying truth bit come into it? Well, my terrifying truth is that beings are here right now on this planet that resemble an 8 to 9 foot tall creature walking upright. Now, people might scoff, people might laugh at that and say that's ridiculous, but what's more ridiculous in my mind, in my way of thinking, is that we have that creature of that description living off the land, just walking around undiscovered, yet to be added to the scientific records. That to me is not possible given the landmass that we have here. I mean, they could stay hidden. Don't get me wrong, there are areas of the UK, like the one that I'm in now, if they really wanted to, they could stay hidden. There's a large area or large areas of the UK that aren't populated, that are still very natural. But given the time that man has been here exploring, you would assume if it was just a creature that's undiscovered, walking around, living its life, we would have something more tangible than just reports, verbal recordings of people's experiences. And we don't. So what I think is happening is that people are experiencing something otherworldly, something more extraterrestrial in nature, and who knows why they're coming here. But I would hazard a good guess it's because of the areas like I'm in now, forested areas. And I think that if you look at the biology, if you look at the way that these creatures that are described to be, with long hair, bipedal, upright, robust, strong. Look at ancient man, look at Neanderthals. Okay, we wasn't as tall, we were short and stocky. But only because the oxygen levels at the time of us being around during the Ice Age wouldn't allow us to grow big. It's the same reason why dinosaurs grew massive, because they had more oxygen available for them to grow to these incredible sizes. Who knows? These cryptids, these Bigfoot type creatures, wherever they've come from, there's more oxygen on their planet and they've managed to grow huge. But one thing that they are lacking is forested areas, which they need to survive and thrive. So they do travel out into the stars in search of planets like this one that are very rich in natural areas, natural wooded areas, that in places like Canada, in places like the US, go on for miles and miles and miles. You can walk for days, weeks even, and not see a single soul. I think it's something completely different. I believe that what we're dealing with, what people are seeing, is a being from somewhere else. Now, just because it has fur, just because it's a very tall, bipedal, robust-looking creature, doesn't mean that it can't be extraterrestrial. A lot of people get this wrong. A lot of people think that extraterrestrials have to be hairless, they have to have big black eyes and long pointy fingers. My question to you guys is why? Why do extraterrestrials have to follow this trend? I've said it many times before here on the channel. They could come in all different shapes, all different sizes, and they could look like a whole host of weird and wonderful creatures, a Bigfoot being one of them. Is it possible that beings from somewhere else could be visiting these locations? And if so, why? Why would an extraterrestrial that resembles a Bigfoot be coming to the UK? Well, something that's hairy, bipedal, and walks upright, you know, you would imagine its favoured habitat would be a wooded area. You wouldn't assume to, or you wouldn't expect to see something like that out in the deserts or under the ocean. Its body type, the way that it's evolved with the hair, standing upright like that, is built for these environments. Now, at one point, the UK was known as the Great Forest. 90% of this island was forest. Until obviously agriculture came in and we started to harvest all this wood and in place put fields and farms. So if an extraterrestrial Bigfoot type creature is coming from somewhere else, it would be a great place, or it was a great place at one point because of the forested areas. Look at Canada, look at the US. Where do most of these sightings of these creatures get seen? Wooded areas. Now I know there's isolated events near boulder fields, by the sides of lakes and streams, rivers, but they are the majority. They are the minority compared to the sightings that get seen in the forest. So who knows? They may be making this trip because of the rich forested areas that we do have. Would be cool to see something out grazing in these little meadows, you know, hunched over, just maybe smashing some shells on a rock or whatever, and then it stands up on 2 feet. Imagine that. Especially with this eerie fog drifting across the backdrop, it would be the perfect setting for a cryptid sighting. So guys, listen, I need to tell you something. This is important. You're going to meet people throughout life that will try to tell you that they've got the definitive answers to whatever it is that you're interested in. You could be interested in the UFO and extraterrestrial phenomena, and you'll meet someone along the way on your search for answers that claims they know everything, and they know why the extraterrestrials are here, and they know why they're doing what they're doing. They don't, trust me. But there's something you need to carry along with you when you meet these people. They don't mean any harm. Some of them can be arrogant, some of them can be damn right close-minded, stubborn even. But really, they've either had an experience that was genuine and it's shaped their life, their belief system, to the point that they feel so strongly about it, they now feel like they need to tell people what they believe is definitive facts. And I'll be the first person to tell you right here, right now, when you meet these people, take it with a pinch of salt. Don't get offended. Just listen, smile, wave, and Be nice, be polite. You know, I meet these people at conferences that come over to me and I'm standing there. I don't necessarily believe what they're saying, but I'll never be mean. I'll never put someone down or discredit their experience, because for them, to them, it was real. And there are some very real cases out there that sound unbelievable. So we just never know. But my point is this: nobody has the definitive answers. I don't care if you was 3 foot away from a Bigfoot, it looked you right in the eyes. You don't know whether that was extraterrestrial or flesh and blood. I'm sorry, but you don't. It's the same as if you're being abducted by an extraterrestrial being and they put a big TV in front of you and show you that we're wrecking our planet and say, look, we're here for the good of you guys. You need to clean up your act and stop damaging your planet. You don't know if their intentions are good just because they showed you a video of what we're going to do to ourselves. We just don't know. Nobody has the definitive answers. And I'll give you an example, right? There are horrible people in this planet. There are bad people that do bad things on this planet. But I'll guarantee you now, there'll be victims of those people that would say their intentions seem good. How many stories of serial killers do we hear where they've picked up a hitchhiker? Now, the act of picking up a hitchhiker is a positive thing. The hitchhiker will have thought his luck was in. He'll have jumped in the car and before you know it, lo and behold, they've been killed. Everybody's intentions are not always what they seem. And extraterrestrials, we should take it with the same train of thought. We can't believe everything we're being told because they've told us it. Like, let's not be gullible. Let's not listen to people that claim they've got all the answers. I hear it all the time on YouTube. You know, I'll put a video out, I'll say something in that video, and someone will say, "Oh, actually, Ben, you're wrong because the grey aliens, their true agenda is this." I'm like, how the hell do you know that? Well, because I was abducted multiple times throughout my childhood and that's what they told me. I don't care if that's what they told you. I don't care if you was abducted every single day from the minute you was born up until the present. We don't know. We're not on a level of understanding where we can actually say 100% without any doubt, yes, this is what a Bigfoot is. Yes, this is what extraterrestrials are doing here. We can't do that. But you will meet people who try to. And my advice to you, if you want a happy life moving forward, searching for these answers, is let them be. Let those people be. It's fine. Another thing as well, it's fine to have your own beliefs. Like, I have things that are core values to me. I know what I believe. I know what I think. But I would never say to anybody else, you're wrong, I'm right, because this is actually what's happening. Nobody knows, guys. Nobody knows. Anyway, I'm going to push out now of the forest, and it's getting really dark. I've just stepped into this bit of a clearing where the light is coming through the canopy, so hopefully it's not too grainy. But yeah, I'm enjoying myself. It's great. I've heard a few strange noises while out tonight. A lot of them I think were just deers, as they've heard Lily coming around, getting the hell out of here. But it's fascinating and it's good fun to be out here in nature, talking to like-minded people like yourself.
The dark side of national parks is not something that is often spoken about. National parks can no doubt be unnerving, and as always, the further you venture into these areas, the quicker you'll realise just how eerily silent these parks can be. Legends and folklore seem to go hand in hand with these landscapes, and I'd be lying if I said that I was to never think about these cases of lost hikers, unexplained disappearances, and encounters with other supernatural beings. Because even during the day, a place like this can be quite unsettling. Giant trees, ancient rock formations, and even towering cliffs all hold stories left behind from my ancient ancestors. Ancestors who I can only imagine knew all too well about the supernatural elements that surround this location.